Hello everybody, it is me, Susanna, and welcome back to my channel. If you like the video that you see today, please do give it a thumbs up or subscribe for extra baby hints and tips, as this is the majority of what my channel is going to be about. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about things that can help you get your baby to sleep through the night. This obviously takes a bit of time, and newborns certainly shouldn't be sleeping through the night as they need the nutrition, but over time you will find that your baby can go longer and longer without needing a feed. And so really what you want to be doing is setting the scene for your baby to aid him or her in doing those long stretches. Sleep is a really contentious subject with babies, as you may have realised already. Different people have very different opinions on what is the right thing to do, and I think when it comes to sleep you have to just trust your gut, do with what feels right with you. We all have very different styles of mothering, and it's completely down to you to decide what you think is best for your family. I personally didn't feel very comfortable with the cry it out method. It didn't sit right with me, and I was quite lucky in that I was getting 3-hour stretches at a time, so I didn't feel completely frazzled and at the end of my tether. But I know from speaking to other parents that they literally can't go on. They're waking up every 45 minutes for their baby, and it's a form of torture, sleep deprivation. And so if you find yourself in that situation, you might want to take more drastic measures. So I'm just going to talk to you a bit about what I did with Noah and getting him to sleep through the night. He is 8.5 months, and he now sleeps from around 6:30 p.m. until 6:30 a.m. So we're getting a good 12-hour stint out of him, which is brilliant. And I have done no sleep training whatsoever. And when I say that, I mean no structured sleep training, no cry it out. What I have been doing is trying to set a really nice environment for him so that he finds it easier to go to sleep. In the early days, he was a very, very hungry baby, and I would have him on the boob non-stop. He's exclusively breastfed until he was 6 months. And so we would quite often, just to catch some Z's and get some sleep, we would quite often co-sleep, and he'd feed lying down so that I could at least rest while he was feeding, as it was very frequent. At one point it was every 45 minutes, although that phase didn't last too long. It actually took us quite a few months of feeding to sleep before I learned that you shouldn't do that for too long, as it can create a sleep association where the baby will only fall asleep when he's on your boob. This definitely happened to us, and it was exhausting that I was the only person that could soothe him to sleep. My partner is very supportive and he wanted to get involved, but he really couldn't because no one needed my breast to fall asleep. So when he reached, I think it was about 4 months, we started to introduce the bottle as his last feed. At first I was giving him expressed milk, and then we moved on to formula, as I found, and a lot of people say this is myth, so it's up to you whether you try it or not, but I found once we switched to formula, he was sleeping a lot better. This also really just helped with sleep in general, because he learned that he didn't need my boob to fall asleep, and he also knew that the last feed of the day was my partner Ryan rocking him whilst feeding him the bottle. He knew bottle equals it's nighttime. So that was the first step. And then after that, we moved on to not feeding at all before sleep, but rather rocking. We got a rocking chair and we would just rock him to sleep. And that took a while at first. It might take a good 20-30 minutes until he fell asleep, but it did eventually work. And as the weeks moved on, it became quicker and quicker. He knew that rocking motion meant sleep. We'd wait for him to be asleep, and then we'd transfer him to his cot and hope and pray that he didn't wake up, which he often did, which is so frustrating for those of you that have had that experience. It's awful, and it's back to square one, back to rocking. Sometimes you feel like you're going certifiably insane. Rest assured that it goes very quickly and they do really progress in a short amount of time. We did rocking for about a month and then we moved on to just lying our hand on his chest. So we'd put him down, sleepy but awake, and we'd just rest our hand on his chest and maybe rock his body slightly to give him that little wobble. And at first, a lot of resistance, a lot of screaming, but I felt assured that he knew we were there. He wasn't distressed, he was just playing up because this wasn't the norm. And sure enough, after a few nights, maybe 5 nights, he then went down super easy with just a hand on his chest. I just want to say that Noah was by no means the easiest, and it really took a lot of perseverance, as I think it does with most babies. The kindest thing you can do to them is to be consistent. So if you're slowly weaning them off of the boob into rocking or whatever your chosen method is, just be consistent with it. Know that they're not going to get it on day one. Everything they're learning, and it might take a few days of really having the patience of a saint to get through it. Sometimes I would put on some headphones and listen to a podcast so that I stayed calm and I didn't lose my rag with him, because they really can pick up on that. And if you're stressed or if you end up going, "Arr!" it kind of sets them back to square one and gets them stressed out as well. So do what you have to do to stay calm and just remind yourself, this is not forever, this is very short term. So something that I found really made a difference with helping him get to sleep was making his room as dark as possible. We actually bought a blackout blind, which I will link below. And we have blackout blinds in our apartment, but they don't completely black out the room. Whereas this just has little sucker cups. You stick it to the window and it's completely dark in that room. They're also brilliant for taking on holiday when you don't know what the situation's going to be. The darkness just really helps them associate sleep dark, sleep dark. And that's really worked well for us. Another thing I invested in was the sound machine. I'll also link the one we've got below, but any sound machine that has continuous sound. I prefer the ones that don't switch off automatically. As another little add-in, because I got to the end of this video and realised I hadn't explained what the importance of the sound machine was, this is the importance of the sound machine. So when babies are in the womb, you may or may not know that they can hear a constant whooshing sound. It's kind of the same volume as a power shower, or apparently double the volume of a vacuum cleaner. So it's a really loud ambient sound that they're used to. And when they come out into the world, they start to get used to silence, but it really helps to relax them if they can hear that similar sound, which is where the use of a sound machine comes in amazingly. Just white noise or whatever you choose. I've got actually mine set to ocean sounds because I just don't like white noise, and it's really great. You can use it from day one until as long as you like. The other great thing about sound machines is that it blocks out other noises. So especially for daytime naps, when we're buzzing around the house, he just can't hear those everyday household sounds. I highly recommend getting one. They are as cheap as chips and readily available. You can also buy battery operated ones that are brilliant for taking on holiday with you. When you're getting your baby ready for bed, try and make the setting as tranquil as possible. By that I mean, like, don't have loud sounds, loud music, don't have the television on. Kind of dim the lights if possible, or have natural light, and just make the setting quite mellow. What you'll hear time and time again is how important a bedtime routine is. I'm sorry, but I'm going to repeat it. It is so important. So our routine for Noah is bath time at about 6. He'll have a splash around in the bath. Then I'll massage him with some baby moisturizer that's good for sensitive skin. Finally, I'll put him in a nappy and then put him in his sleep bag. It's currently summer here, so he's in a very light tog sleep bag and he's not wearing pajamas. but whatever your baby needs to be dressed in. Once he has his sleep bag on, we will sit in the rocking chair and read a quick book in his nursery. Then he will have his final bottle of the day, which is formula, and he will be put down drowsy but awake. Now, I never thought this day would come, but we can walk out the room with him gurgling to himself and he will be asleep in minutes. It's really fantastic, and rest assured, he has not always been the easiest at getting to go to sleep. It happens to all babies eventually, so just hang on in there. One thing worth mentioning is that food can play a part. Noah is now 8.5 months, so he is eating solids. And I do find that if you try and do a few meals towards the end of the day, so for instance, he'll have his 2:30 milk after his lunchtime nap, then I'll give him a snack at 3, and then I'll give him his solid dinner at 5, and then his bottle at 6:30. That's quite a lot of food towards the end of the day, and I do think it has helped carry him through the night. He is a big baby, so I think he does get quite hungry, and yeah, I found this has definitely made a difference. So do think about that once your baby is taking on solids, and even before that, when you're offering milk feeds, think about offering more towards the end of the day. Another thing worth pointing out is that some babies can find protein quite hard to digest. So although it's important to feed your babies protein, I try and do that in the lunchtime feed at 11:30, and that way there's no digestive issues when he's put down for bedtime. One last thing, and it's an important one. If your baby wakes up in the night, in the early days, it's understandable that you go running to them. But when you start to learn their cry and you know what a distressed cry is versus just a whine, just a sort of, you can tell if your baby's stressed or not. I recommend, if that baby isn't doing a stressed cry, a distressed cry, just sit tight. The French swear by a technique called la pause, which basically is just that, just stop and wait for just a couple of minutes, just so they learn that making a noise doesn't instantly mean you running in the room. Also, some babies make noise just to make noise. They're not being told that I want to get out of here. They're just having a little, like, a stretch and a wriggle and a squawk before they go back to sleep. I didn't believe that this would ever lead to Noah going back to sleep, but sure enough, when I started giving him a few minutes, he would nod back off to sleep, and I'd get another couple of hours out of him. So I really highly recommend giving that a go if you're comfortable with it. It really was a game changer for us. Okay, so they are my hints and tips for helping get your baby to sleep. Obviously, every single baby is different, and you need to do what's right for you. But this was our story, and this is what I picked up along the way, so I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or leave your comments below. I'd love to hear what hints and tips you have of your own. I'm always looking to learn more and spread more information. So until the next video, thank you very much for watching. Bye.